dude, I think we're on an MCO chair. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Does that piss you off?
Yeah.
Unvaxxed sperm is in. One is like it's indestructible.
Yeah, that's probably what you're paying for.
I'm not letting this motherfucker beat me.
Remember with the grind pad on it?
All right.
If I leave it, today's gonna be the day
that
I
you
really need it.
Is this something I want to do right now?
We get started before she picks who she's gonna select.
It's like she's the modern Madonna of our generation.
Scrap this whole episode.
Fuck that. We're gonna get it done. How's it going?
Good.
What did you get up to this week?
So I didn't get a lot done this week, but I did find this new app called Raycast. Have you used it?
Yeah, you just found Raycast now?
Yeah, I just found Raycast now. But it's sick. It's basically like this. It powers up your like search bar on your Mac. So you can set all these automatic things. So I have like shortcuts that automatically like take me to like the daily Stripe revenue, or like take me to the Wiz admin for this account when I put it in. And I just use one that's like caffeinate my screen for like an hour, which means like this isn't going to keep sleeping for the next hour.
That's cool. I remember I first found Raycast. Well, one, I had been to the Raycast website like 5 or 6 times because they had a really cool website. They had a couple cool like animations, but it was actually funny. I would always go to the Raycast website for like this like design inspiration. It was like, oh, what do they do, or how do they do this sort of page? Like I really like their changelog and things like that. But I'd never read what the app actually was ever. I'd been to their website 10 times just because people were like, this is great for design inspiration. I had never read their H1. I never knew what the product was, but essentially it's like Google, or it's like Apple Spotlight on steroids, where they have like a whole app marketplace, which is really cool, and it connects with like a bunch of apps like Stripe, like you were talking about, and I really love it. It's really
such a smart idea. It's funny that you say that design thing, because I actually I had done the same with Reflect, which a designer that we both use designed that site, and I just always kind of same thing, like looked at it for like design inspiration, but never actually considered ever getting Reflect. And then as I was thinking about a notes app, I was like, oh, Reflect is probably good, I assume, because it looks so good. And I'm like, it's so funny because people
What is Reflect?
It's like a note-taking app. And I'm assuming it does something better. I haven't yet got it, but I'm going to maybe next week. But I just think it's funny because like people always say like, oh, the best design sites don't actually convert better. And it's like, I feel like that's true maybe in the short term, but like the top of funnel, like awareness and growth, yeah, the percentage of people that actually convert might be lower, but I think there are a lot of people that like just like in the long term prefer a nicer looking website and brand that like it takes time to show that in the data. So I don't really like,
even like you launched like actually the Wizard website today, which thanks. This is a sick website. High five. But it's a beautiful website, super sick. But like you've been getting a ton of people on Twitter just being like, look at this new website from Wizard, like designers who were like not purely in your like ICP, but you're getting all of this like press about the website going out, which is pretty cool. And so like that's also like another piece, you know, of just like pressers being like, oh, this is a sick website. Like what's the direct ROI? I don't know, but yeah, people like talk about it and like they share it, and there is a trickle down effect.
Designer starts an agency or starts thinking about outbound, and they're like, oh, I'd been on Wizza.
Yeah.
So yeah,
even just like that many people post, like even if you are a B2B company, everyone always wants a good website, and very few people have a good website. And so even if there's designers talking about a good website, people are always going in and be like, I wish my website looked like this.
Right.
So I think that's super cool. This week for me, I've a lot of like just like stuff around the office. I'm like building out. We had like this empty room for a while that I'm turning into like a quote unquote boardroom. And I went down this like rabbit hole of one. I'm a big like furniture snob. Like the one thing that I really love is well designed furniture. Like I'm a huge Charles Eames fan and like the whole history of it. And so I needed to get chairs for around our like board room table. But we also wanted like folding chairs. And so anyway, I found these like really cool acrylic folding chairs that are really, really nice. And it just, in this process of finding chairs for the boardroom, it reminded me of this company that I like have admired for a long time called MCO Chair. Have you ever heard of like MCO chairs?
From you.
Okay. So MCO chairs, everybody has seen an MCO chair. Like if someone puts a photo of it's essentially their flagship product is called the MCO Navy chair. It's a aluminum chair that was originally made for the US Navy. And MCO as a company was formulated purely to fulfill the request of the US government in 1944 to create chairs for the Navy ships for World War II. And so literally like there's this huge purchase order that went out, people bidding, these guys made this company, I don't know exactly who, to just fulfill this order. And they set out to make the perfect chair for the Navy ships. And it's quickly, and over time, it's become a sought after chair amongst like architects and the designers to just have as like the go-to studio chair as well for like a few kind of reasons. One is like it's indestructible. So like these people, it's 100% handmade in United States of America, in Pennsylvania. And they call it like the bulletproof chair. And so it goes through like this like heat treating process and all this kind of stuff. They essentially fuse aluminum to where it's like almost like a single piece. And it's just like a basic, simple chair. And when I was like thinking about getting chairs for the boardroom, I was like, oh, it'd be super cool if we just get like MCO chairs, but they're very basic and they're like $1,000 each. I'm like, okay, I'm not spending $10,000 on very basic chairs for this. But I went down the rabbit hole of just like learning more about this company and a very like design centric company, which I always like gets me like super tickled and stuff like that. But what's really cool is just like watching like this like very purpose built company almost turn into, they're not a luxury brand, but like a large part of their customers now are just like luxury buyers who just want like that nice little corner desk chair or this like the perfect like subtle chair that, you know, just does everything and will last forever. So I thought it was really cool.
We were in a WeWork once and we were sitting on a chair and then you're like, dude, I think we're on an MCO chair. I'm like, what are you talking about? We're on like a standard cheap little like,
that's the thing.
chair.
You think it's like a cheap little chair, but it's like if you like look at like MCO replicas, they make small changes, and you look at an MCO replica versus the MCO original, and you're like, wow, the MCO original is so much better. And I think that even just comes back to an idea of like original ideas. Like a copycat will never surpass an original idea for one reason or another. I don't know. I think it's like a little bit of magic in the universe in which a version of something is always a version of something. When you have to change your design purely to be slightly different than the thing that people love, it breaks it. And so I'm obsessed with like these MCO chairs, and I went down like a rabbit hole of what they're doing now, and they're doing a lot of really cool product collaborations as well now. So they're doing a lot of like corporate B2B collaborations with like Coca-Cola, where they're producing a bunch of chairs out of like recycled Coca-Cola water bottles, these like beautiful plastic chairs made out of like X amount of Coca-Cola bottles and stuff like that. And I also went through just like a bunch of their old, like the old MCO advertising where they were transitioning from, you know, a contract government manufacturer to like now needing to build a business. And they had like a lot of really cool ads of like a single MCO chair with like this massive bodybuilder standing on it, holding like 6 women on his arms. And it was like the headline would be like MCO chair, like built for 150 years at least. And so there's a lot of really good advertising that's like utility centric. And I think it's a really good case study of, if you really wanted to look at it, of, okay, if I have a utility product, how can I turn my utility product into potentially like a luxury brand or something that just justifies a premium price tag, which they do.
Right. Yeah. It's funny how people are like something like a chair or whatever. Like there's always been that marketing scheme of like how long something will last, or like, you know, when you're buying something and you're like, oh, this is going to last like 1,000 years. It's like, I might only be planning on using it for 2 years, or like realistically, I'm going to throw it out. But like, there's something to that, like, oh, it's so durable that it'll last like 1,000 years.
It gives you like a feeling of like accomplishment buying the right thing as well. Like, I don't know for you, but for me, like whenever I always say this is like, I take up a lot of new hobbies. And one of my favorite parts about taking up a new hobby is finding the best version of the accessories I need to do said hobby. And like, I find a lot of like joy in that, in like doing the shopping around process, figuring out, okay, if I'm going to make this decision of buying this thing, what's the best version? And so, yeah. If you're looking for a cool chair to have in your like studio space or office, get an MCO. They're like really, really sweet. And it's an American company. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's probably what you're paying for.
Oh, I have like some other notes here. I'll just say, so like when they went out to build the perfect chair, it was like, it needed to be light because it couldn't be heavy, because then the Navy ships would roll. So like they were really weight centric. So they made it of aluminum. They need to be like non-corrosive because of like, you're gonna be out at sea, it's salt air. So like that also meant aluminum. They need to be strong. So they do this like 77 process heat treatment treatment process. And a lot of people are saying that like MCO chairs are actually bulletproof when they go through that process, because it takes, I mean, way above my pay grade, but it takes aluminum, which is just like whatever. And then apparently their heat treating process like molds the molecules of the aluminum to where it's like incredibly strong, which is really cool. So do you have any like random little like brands that you're like obsessed with, or things that you really, really enjoy?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more autistic in that lane than you are.
I don't even think about chairs. I've never thought about a chair company in my life. Couldn't name one.
I'm oddly obsessed with chairs.
Really?
Yeah. Like, I mean, I've always loved like Charles Eames chairs, and I have one, and like that's like an incredible story too, of just a designed product that like it's literally has been around since I think like the early 70s or late 60s. And it was like Charles and Ray Eames, which is like a couple, like a husband and wife, and like they designed this chair. And like now Herman Miller is like one of the most like known furniture brands, based on like this like one hero product, which I think is really cool. And like all focused on like product, on like quality and lasting forever, and like handmade goods and things like that. So yeah.
I mean, I carry a pocket knife now because of you.
Yeah.
You got me into those.
Well, okay, so here's the thing with the pocket knife too, is like, well, one, that's a fun process as well, because as a design exercise, like a pocket knife has inherent restrictions in terms of size and carrying it around. So it's like, are there pocket knives that have a million things? It's like, yes, but they're heavy. Right. And so it's like really thinking about what you're going to use on a daily basis, and trying to optimize, okay, like I'm going to trade off X for Y. And I think it's an interesting process. For me, it's an enjoyable process of like going through your daily life and like trying new knives, and then finding the one that like solves 80% of your issues with like the trade-offs that you want, whether it's design or like weight and things like that. And people always like say to me like, well, why the fuck do you carry a knife? Like you work in like software, like you're such a nerd. But I always just say to people like, carry a knife every day for a month, and like you'll realize how often you use it. Yeah,
that's how you got me. I was like, all right, fuck it, I'll get the knife. And then I get the knife, and I'm like, I actually use this like pretty much every day. Like
it's this for me, it's the second used thing besides my phone and my wallet.
Yeah,
is like the second thing, or the third thing in that list is a knife. And so again, you don't understand it until you go through that like month-long process, and you're like, wow, this is
when I'm leaving the house, I see it, I'm like, if I leave it, today's going to be the day I really need it. So it's like, yeah. Sam Altman got fired from OpenAI today.
Yeah, like literally I think this press release came out like today,
like hours ago,
before we recorded this podcast.
Yeah, literally hours ago. Apparently lying to the board. Yeah, or maybe
I think it's an incredible tale, because you could think of a million reasons to fire a CEO, and usually that doesn't happen the moment after they launch the most successful product in internet history.
That's why it's so crazy.
It's insane. It's like he executed at the most insane level, and he still got ousted by the board. And I mean, I think it's even a testament of like, one of the beauties of running a bootstrap company is like that will never happen to either of us.
Well, like, first of all, what he did must have been really bad, because
it has to be.
It like you don't fire that CEO unless it's very
maybe
bad.
let's like maybe
I'm gonna bet you'd
have to assume, but it's like give him the benefit of the doubt, I guess.
Yeah, but yeah, it is scary to have a board. Like, fuck, like
I couldn't imagine that feeling. It's like you're literally building one of the most revolutionary companies. I listened to the podcast with him and Joe Rogan. He's incredibly passionate about it. It seems like he's level-headed, but again, that could just be PR, and like he's well-trained. Like maybe he's a fucking menace.
Yeah.
Have you heard of this conspiracy theory about how he has like a very much a path to owning 100% of OpenAI?
Okay, no, I haven't heard this.
Okay, so I might not be as sharp on these notes as to like recite the conspiracy theory as possible. But essentially, most of OpenAI is owned by Sam Altman's foundation. And so when Sam Altman says that he does not have ownership in OpenAI, it's like, okay, but his charity does, and he has 100% control of his charity. And then the other thing is that a lot of the people who were in most of the investment rounds, they have capped gains on their investment. And so, for example, Microsoft has 100x cap on their most recent investment. And so if you were to think, okay, if OpenAI fulfills the potential in which people are expecting, once they get paid out on whatever it is, their 100x or 1000x of of their investment, the equity then just like reverts back to the company.
Right.
And so anyway, there's like a lot of these. I remember reading an article about how, and I think I heard it on the All In podcast as well. It's like there is a way in which Sam Altman's charity eventually owns 100% of OpenAI with like no investors, which is like a crazy, and like maybe
this is all part of it.
Maybe this is like part of it, in which like, okay, we have to oust him as the CEO, and like maybe then if he has a zero controlling interest, they can do things with the cap table that he has no control over, no voting interest on, and like again, I don't think either of us are super up to speed with like everything that's going on with this, but I remember hearing this theory and I was just like, wow. And also like on the All In podcast, they had mentioned like Sam was very clear in which the theory is like, okay, what if Sam's main objective was to become the first trillionaire in the world? And so they were saying like, hey, how would you actually do this? It's like, one, generally in the population right now, like the idea of billionaires and trillionaires is kind of frowned on. And so you'd want to separate yourself from the company. And so you do this through like a trust or like a charity. And like the actual way to become a trillionaire is to actually not become the trillionaire yourself. And then the other piece was that, you needed to bet on like a 1,000x or like 100,000x opportunity. And it's like, okay, AI. And then you also have crypto, which like Sam Altman has multiple companies in like the crypto space. And he had like a third space in which he's been playing in. And so you could very much reverse engineer the theory based on his like moves over the last like 5 to 7 years that like, oh, if you were very smart and like very sharp and very forward thinking, like this is how and your goal was to become the first trillionaire, like you would do what Sam Altman did over like the last 5 to 7 years. But again, all conspiracy.
Do you think it's possible he joins Elon Musk's AI?
Wow.
XAI?
That would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I'd be about that. That would be pretty cool.
XAI, and they're fighting. Because now OpenAI, like, it's funny when like a company doesn't have like a face to it anymore. It's like, now what they're building is like kind of scary all of a sudden.
Right. But before
like,
it was like,
who's this
Sam,
board?
This, like,
yeah. It's like, this nerd's doing it. Like, he'll figure it out. Now it's like, who the hell's on this board? Like, yeah.
I don't know. I think it's a tale of caution of like having a board.
Okay, place a bet. Will he join?
I think I'd bet no. I think ideologically, I don't know. OpenAI is incredible. Like it was seemingly very liberal and like anti like freedom of speech and things like that. But listening to him on the Joe Rogan Experience, he seemed to be like not 100% aligned with that, and that could just be that could have been the organization taking over, very much like what happened in Twitter, and like Jack Dorsey wasn't fully aligned with like Twitter's beliefs,
right? And
so like there's the opportunity for that, but I think Elon is like very open with what his ideological beliefs are. I don't know if Sam's 100% aligns with him, but who knows? That'd be amazing.
We'll see.
That'd be like such a cool full circle moment. And like, imagine if like then it goes back to the founders and they just like crush OpenAI. Like now that the board has ousted OpenAI, I want OpenAI to fail, and I want Sam Altman to like underdog and like rise like a phoenix and fucking crush OpenAI 100%.
We'll see.
What's your bet?
I'm just to mix it up. I'll say he does.
Okay.
Because I came up with the idea. I got to bet on it.
All right, sweet. What else do you have this week?
So it's getting cold here. So the other morning I'm going to the gym, 6 a.m, and I'm like, how does my car not have remote start?
Your car doesn't have remote start?
So I thought. So I'm like Googling remote start on my car. I finally come across it. It's a subscription service.
Wow, dude.
It's called Mercedes Me. It's $20 a month or $250 a year. I know the annual is more than the monthly. Makes no sense. But you cannot select the monthly one. It's like grayed out. I'm like, okay, so I guess I have to go annual. So anyway, I sign up for this stupid thing because I'm like, at the end of the day,
does that piss you off?
Yeah,
dude, this is like a $250,000 car, and you fucking and you have to and I mean, like, my car's not a $250,000. It's like a $70,000 car, and it has remote start from the factory, no problems, no subscription.
This is an app that's $250 a month. But I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll bite the bullet. It's worth it not to be like freezing cold every morning.
Yeah.
Sign up. It's like, thanks for signing up. Like, activation is in progress. I'm like,
no way, this is a manual process.
I'm like, what is happening right now? Like, what does that even mean? Like, someone gonna come by my house? So I get in the car, I've been driving it, and they're like, it should happen within 24 hours. It's been 3 days.
Is this through an app?
It's through an app.
Okay.
It's been 3 days. It still says activation is in progress. Nothing has happened. I've had to email Mercedes and be like, what is going on? They're like, please wait up to a week. And if it doesn't work, like, you might have to visit a dealership. I'm like, how's just include it in the car on the key? Like, is this worth $20 a month for
So
Mercedes?
is the way that you use remote start once you have it through the app?
Only through the app.
And so then it also like reduces your like confidence that like the app is going to properly remote start. It's like, what if there's activation on the remote start itself?
Are they going to refund me for this week that I haven't been able to remote start?
I remember seeing something. I mean, I think Tesla was the first company to do this, where they were gating things with software, like ludicrous mode and things like that. Which, like with Tesla, I don't know why it doesn't piss me off as much.
Yeah, I feel like it made a bit more sense, and it was for like features that were kind of extra. But I've heard now BMW is starting to do it for the seat warmer.
Yeah, so I heard. I remember reading the article about BMW and the seat warmer. The thing with the Tesla one that makes sense is like it's a continuously updating system,
right?
Like the remote drive or like the self-driving, and so it's like you kind of are like funding the innovation. It's going to get better. You're going to receive updates.
Right.
Sending a ping to your car to start, which is done through normal key fobs on every other car, and like paying for that seems insane. So what deal do you get? Anything else for $20 a month?
There was like remote lock unlock, like just a bunch of like.
So essentially just the app, like essentially turning your key fob into the app costs you $20 a month, and they gate some features that aren't on the phone.
Yeah.
Wow. That pissed me off.
It's frustrating. And it's not working, but they got me.
They got that MRR.
The only thing that I think like partially makes sense in this whole idea of like feature gating, like car features, is like if you're selling a car without options, it's kind of like whatever you see as the price. If it's $50,000 for this car, that's what you're paying for the car. If you want options, it's this. You can cancel anytime. And then if you sell the car, the new owner like might not want all those options, so they can like choose if they want to pay for them or not.
Right,
so like that's kind of cool, but like it's just so stupid when it's like a button that now has to like connect to an app, and like
is the app good?
I don't know. I can barely use it. It's like right now it's just a picture of my car and it's like activation in progress.
Wow. That's insane.
Yeah. So we'll see. What else this week? So I've been thinking about, have you ever considered with your software company doing any sort of like professional services or like agency services?
I have, and I think a lot of people have like actually like asked me for it, or like even potentially like a referral directory as like a piece, or like a talent finding piece for example, like creative strategists or people who make ads. I know we've had the conversation before when I always sometimes ask you, be like, if you had to double your revenue in a single month, how would you do it right now? And like the quick answer is like, you double your prices. But outside of doubling your prices, how do you double your revenue? And every time you usually say to me like, oh, professional services.
Yeah. Like I think there's, for us, like we could pretty easily offer like lead generation and cold email as a service, managing all that crap for like what, 5,000 to 10,000 a month maybe. I've done that actually in the past for like some startups. I was listening to a podcast with the chief revenue officer of Snowflake, and he was basically explaining how important that element is. So what he did is when he became the chief revenue officer, he inherited the customer success division. And he was like, customer success is basically pointless. It's basically just like dealing with renewals. Like you're not really providing any value. It's just like checking in if you're using, like monitoring usage. So he's like, a sales rep can do that. So he got rid of customer success and he started doing these like professional services with that budget, where it's basically an agency. They operate at like barely any profit, like almost break even. I think 10% profit margins. And the whole point of it is like, not only do you get that professional services revenue, it lowers churn much more than like customer success would. So you're not just like checking with people. It's like these people are actually doing like good work for your company. So you're not going to cancel the software. So I don't know, something to like,
I think whenever I think about this as an option, it's like, would this be a good idea? The answer is always yes. But the answer is, should we focus any of our time and effort onto this right now? So it's like, right now, both of us are in a situation where we have like amazing margins on like gross margins on the products that we sell. It's like 80 to 95%, right? And so taking away focus from an 80 to 90% gross revenue business to then be like, okay, we're going to put effort and energy and resources into a 10% net margin business. I think at the right time, when maybe potentially churn is your biggest issue, it's like, okay, then maybe that's like the thing that unlocks growth again. But I think if you're confident that you could like 5x your current SaaS revenue, then like no effort should be like put into professional services. And like I think the professional services side of like either of our businesses is like it's like what both of us did before we built the software. So like we know it's easy, like we can definitely do this. But again, it's time, attention for like no money. And so if there's like a clear path to like eliminating churn or like reducing churn by 50%, which unlocks growth again, then I think it makes sense. I think if anything too, like I think it makes a lot more sense for you right now than it does for me.
Right. I think that's a good answer.
And I also think like your version of it for your product is a lot more turnkey than it would be for like creating, for example, creating ads as a service.
Right.
And we have like a large portion of our customers being agencies, so it might feel a little bit cannibalistic in like a way of like we're kind of taking from potentially some of our customers, or it might be like an optics issue. But I think for yours it like 100% makes sense as well, because like right now we're setting up all of our cold email infrastructure. We did cold email a long time ago and we're resetting it up now this week, and it's such a pain in the ass to like properly set up cold email infrastructure and manage it. And so like, I could even see someone as like wanting to use Wizza, but then not having the path in which to get value from Wizza. And like, if you can unlock that, it would be like huge. Even just like a one-time setup fee or something that isn't fully managed, but is like unlocked value package, $5,000 one time. But then you also get access to a success manager throughout the year where they can upsell you throughout. But like maybe the first step is just like a setup liaison or something like that. So you're going to do it?
We'll see. I'm thinking about it still. Do you want to hear about the greatest affiliate marketing scheme I've ever seen in my entire life?
Is it affiliate marketing or is it MLM?
It's affiliate marketing.
Okay, it's affiliate marketing.
It's affiliate marketing. Actually, I won't tell you for who it's for.
Okay.
So have you seen these accounts on Twitter that are kind of like these like trad women that are like, I'm unvaxxed and I just want a man I can take care of and like cook for?
Yes, I'm a big trad fan.
Okay, so there's tons of these accounts with like millions of followers. And they kind of like blow up. This one girl in particular, she only has like 11,000 followers on Twitter. And she posts this thread on Twitter that's like, hey, I have a friend. She's looking to get pregnant. She doesn't want to do in vitro fertilization. She wants a guy to like do it in person. He has to be unvaxxed. There were like a few rules, like primarily eats meat, like just like a few things.
Okay.
And it gets like 3 or 4 million impressions.
Wow.
She replies to it like, hey, like this is a photo of like my friend. She's like this beautiful girl, whatever. She's also unvaxxed. Also like she wants to have 5 to 6 kids. So you have to be like available to inseminate her over the next like 5 to 6 years.
Okay.
So all these guys are like, yeah, I'll do it. Like, obviously, right? Like, they're like, she's not looking for any commitment. Just like inseminate her.
Okay.
So she poses like, it's getting like tens of thousands of replies. Guys are messaging, whatever. Any guy that messages, some guy found out, she replies, hey, like, you seem like a great match. She just wants you to do a, what's it called? A DNA test. She sends her referral link to 23andMe.
Oh my God.
And says, can you do this DNA test before like we get started, before she picks who she's going to select? She's making
10 to 20%.
I think it was flat $20 per.
Okay.
But you're talking like she potentially made like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
That's amazing. So this is the craziest affiliate marketing scheme by 23andMe.
Yeah.
I wonder if I would love if it was like top down. Like if this was like 23andMe board of execs being like, trads in, unvaxxed sperm is in, let's fucking go, get these bot accounts pumping. Wow, that's amazing. I'm gonna go and look into that.
Yeah, so do your test. Maybe
I've actually done 23.
So have
I. Speaking of trad, this is just a random whatever anecdote. So there's this. The reason I found out about trad first was there was this girl that I went to.
Well, maybe explain what trad is.
Trad is like traditional woman, and
Okay,
it's like the opposite of what like feminism has been like telling women that they should be doing. It's a counterculture,
right?
Kind of like fat right now, and so I know this girl, and so I went to university with her, and I won't like name who it is, but she's lived more lives publicly than I know of anybody in the world.
Like always changing?
Always changing. So in the time that I've known her, or not, I guess I don't really know. I know of her. We had classes together, blah, 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 blah. We had like a lot of mutual friends. While we were in university, she was just like this cute blonde girl, like whatever. And then she was a lesbian. And like that was like very much her brand of like transitioning to being a lesbian. And then she was like one of the first main like ASMR YouTubers. And so like she like blew up in ASMR. Like one of the like when ASMR was like just coming and like not becoming very, very weird and not becoming very, very niche and more broad, she was like the face of ASMR. Then she fell off the face of the earth on ASMR, and then she got into, and then so her ASMR I think transitioned. And again, this is just from the outside looking in. There might be a lot of stuff behind the scenes that I'm not mentioning. This is just from a perspective of me. I think her ASMR transitioned into like OnlyFans as whatever, like, and like she would do ASMR like bikini try on. So it's like you had the ASMR piece, but you also had the guys who just want to watch girls like try on bikinis. And then she like went full OnlyFans porn, and like then she was a porn star. And then now she's huge on TikTok for being a trad woman, which is the complete opposite of everything she's lived up until the moment that whatever. And I'm just like, I remember seeing, this is like probably 3 or 4 weeks ago that I like realized this. Like you'll see a post and be like, oh, let's see what this person from my university is doing 5 years later. And then I like reverse engineered in my head being like, oh my God, this girl's like 5 or 6 different like very... And like, again, this isn't just like someone changing by themselves. It's like publicly YouTube channels, TikTok channels, OnlyFans channels. This is who I am. And then complete shifts. Like she's the modern Madonna of our generation. Like it was incredible.
Oh my God. From porn star to trad woman.
Dude, from porn star to trad woman's probably the craziest one.
Yeah, that's a crazy.
Or from lesbian to trad woman's even.
Right.
But again, there was stuff between that. So like, yeah, I guess it's just a reminder that you can always reinvent yourself and like be incredibly successful. Yeah.
Who knows where she'll go next?
Yeah, who knows? Do you remember when? So I see in your notes here that you just have like Heelys.
Yes.
I remember. So we were like living in like when we were living in Dallas. We were training for an Ironman together, and we had like one night late at night, just like on our computers, stumbled upon the possibility of buying Heelys as a company.
Yeah.
That dream was quickly torn away from us when we realized it had just sold. But anyway, what did you have about Heelys?
So we came across this months after that last Heelys acquisition.
Yeah.
So as I was thinking about the Heelys story again, I had bought Heelys after that conversation. So I still have my pair. They're pretty mint. I haven't used them.
I mean,
much.
it's like an example of like buying the thing you always wanted as a kid. Or rebuying the thing you wanted as a kid.
Yeah.
Like,
It's a nice to have, if you're going to like an airport and you're in a rush. But okay, so here's the actual full story with Heelys. Heelys was started in 1998 by a guy named Roger Adams. He was like a clinical psychologist. He got tired of that. He comes up with the idea for Heelys because he was like fascinated by rollerblades. Thought he could make like a better rollerblade, which I think he did.
Do you think he made a better rollerblade with Heelys?
He made a more usable rollerblade.
Okay.
I would say.
Micro uses, but like not...
Yeah, I mean like...
You're not going out for a Heely. You're going out for a blade, though.
I used to go out for a Heely. Remember with the grind pad on it, and you go on to the skate park. But anyway, so he wants to create this thing. He has like kind of like a janky prototype. He gets a $2.4 million angel investment. He realizes he's a psychologist. He can't really be the CEO, so he hires this CEO named Mike Staffaroni. They move out to Texas. Actually, they moved out to Texas.
Wow.
Yeah, they moved out to Texas to create the company. Their goal was to launch for Christmas of 2000. They launched in Christmas of 2000. Every month after, I don't know for how long, but for like a long period of time, they on average tripled the business every single month.
What year is this in? 2000. Okay.
They weren't spending much on ads. It was like all word of mouth. The only guerrilla marketing type thing they would do is they would get like skateboarders that were relatively well known, send them to skate parks and have them like Healy around. So that was pretty much the only thing they were doing. So they were super profitable. They even got tons of free like celebrity endorsements. Like Usher wore them in like a big music video. I forget which one. And he wore them at the Grammys, and like Healy'd around on stage, and like zero, like he just did it because he liked Heelys.
Yeah, like booting around.
So they're growing like crazy. Eventually they start running TV ads. You know, they're targeting like children age, like back when we had Heelys. They're growing like crazy. They go public. Skechers offered to buy Heelys for $142 million, and the board declined the deal.
I'm like incredibly, my jaw is literally touching my fucking lap right now because I know what we knew that we could have potentially bought Heelys for like a few months.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So they turned down $142 million. And the reason why is the board thought they could unlock, this is another board tale, but the board thought they could unlock more growth by going like up market in the sense of like broadening their range and targeting ads towards older age groups. And they thought no teen is going to want to wear Heelys, or even adults they wanted to get into. No teens or adults are going to wear Heelys if all the ads are for children. Like what 30-year-old guy is going to put on a pair of Heelys if it's all little kids? So they pushed the CEO, who did not want to do this.
He wanted out.
I don't know if he wanted out, but he wanted to stay in the children niche, which I think is the right call for Heelys. The board wanted him to sell to like teens and adults. So now they start switching up their advertisements, and now they're trying to like target adults for Heelys. And he said the day he was forced to do that is the day Heelys died. The fad ends. Like quickly after the ads changed, the fad ends, which I actually thought it was like more safety concerns, which...
Well, I remember that Heelys started getting banned in... I remember for when it was like big with me, it was people would always have them at hockey tournaments. And so at hockey arenas, they got banned, and at malls, at least in Canada, they got banned.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's
feel
true
like in
the
Canada, it was more because everything I was reading about, and everything I was reading about Heelys was not, there wasn't much about like the safety and whatever. It was probably always like a headwind they had to deal with, but like it sounded like this whole like marketing shift like killed the fad, at least from the CEO's perspective. So after they did that, both the guy who started it, Roger Adams, and the CEO at the time, Mike Staffaroni, they sell all their shares. They leave the company. By 2012, so in 2008...
Who did they sell to? Was it public at the time?
They sold to a private equity firm. But yeah, by 2012, they had gotten the Skechers offer for $142 million in 2008. By 2012, they sold for just $5.5 million to private equity.
The whole business.
So it was $13 million, but they had $8 million cash, or 7.5. So it was a net of $5.5 million. That company had been running it, obviously failed to like pick it up again. And just recently in 2021, they sold to Sequential Brands Group, which is kind of like literally a holding company of all these like kind of shitty other, like they have like Jessica Simpson's like jean company and like all these like weird...
I remember seeing, we looked at their website, they had like Fat Farm and these other like these
all
other
these dead
fashion brands that had a moment, and then
I don't know what they're doing over there, but they're just collecting these like
collecting shit
and just hoping something comes back in style maybe. But anyway, so they bought them back in 2021 to Sequential Brands Group. Our thought at the time was like, nothing with a name that like everybody recognizes can be worth like
I'm trying to remember why we even started thinking about, like, I remember sitting at a dinner table and we were just like, do you think we could buy Heelys? And then I remember us being like, I think we can buy this for like $5 to $10 million.
Yeah.
And then we found the acquisition. It was like 3 or 4 months after 3 or 4 months before we were like going down this like rabbit hole. Like, oh my God, someone bought Heelys for $11 million. And we were like, they got this steal of the century.
What a deal. Like it's a great product.
What other brand can you go to every single person in our generation
and they know it?
And
they're like nostalgic about it.
Right. The only other brands that exist about like that are like that are like ones that still exist, like Nike. And like right. Like the only brands that have that much name recognition still, like the only other things I could think about would be like what was that game that you played? And you Tamagotchi. Like those are the only
stuff like that. Yeah.
Beyblades or like stuff like that. But again, those are like products in which it's hard to see that product taking off again, because like Tamagotchi, it's like, hey, there's iPhones.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like Beyblades, it's just like there's like video games. You can literally do whatever you want. Like Heelys, like what's the alternative to like for a kid? Like it's still a sweet product that like solves like a small issue and is fun.
Yeah, yeah. Like I remember like when I was a kid, like going, like if I was going, my mom was bringing me home from school. If she had to stop at the grocery store, I'd be like, but then when I had Heelys, I was like, yes, I can like go up and down in my Heelys. So like it actually solves a pain point in the market. So what were our ideas? We just bought Heelys today.
So I actually remember when we had this conversation. One was, this was also when like shoe culture was massive. And so I think the biggest, if you could make this happen with Heelys, it would be huge. It's like you do limited edition collabs with the sneaker world, because you actually think about the people who are collecting sneakers right now, it's like people in our generation, right? And so it's like people that still have some sort of connection to the brand of Heelys. And if you just like made like the sickest pair of Jordans or the sickest pair of Yeezys or something like that with Heelys,
Heelys,
like it would be insane. Or just like even like brands not as big, but like in that sort, and you have to make a collector's item, right? So you just do a limited run collector's item and like use that to to have some resurgence in the brand. You update the Heelys designs to match what's kind of like hot right now in like sneaker culture. And then hopefully that trickles down. I think what the founders of Heelys knew then and still remains true is like the person that's actually going to buy these outside of the novelty side are going to be kids. And so you need to make it cool, and then have it trickle down.
Yeah. Yeah, or I think even collabs with like, I don't know what's big for like children these days, but like whatever, SpongeBob or like whatever, just like collabs with like what's big in that age group could bring it back, or like it's actually in a show.
Right.
Like
you could build even like a show around Heelys. Like an animated series around like Heelys, whether it's like you turn it into a sport, or like imagine you could even start adapting like normal playground games to be used with. So like how does hopscotch change as a game, which is already painted on every single school in America's parking lot? How do you make a version of hopscotch with Heelys, right? Like or something like that. Like maybe it's like you throw the stone and then it's like, or who knows? Like you literally just need an hour-long brain session to figure this out. How do you rebuild Foursquare to be a Heelys-centric game? I think if you did something like that, or like Tetherball. I don't even know these games. I mean, I'm assuming these are still painted in the parking lots of schools all across America. But I think if you did something like that, that could be really cool as well. It's like you have the TV show, you come out with games that are already kind of aligned, or at least the playgrounds are aligned, and then you like adapt Heelys to it.
Or we wait until, which is only probably a few years from now, until our generation that grew up using Heelys starts having their own kids.
Right.
Or I guess till those kids are like old enough to Heely.
If I had kids, 10 years. They're getting Heelys.
Yeah. Like 10 years from now. And then you get in front of the adults. Trickles down to children.
I think we should cut this portion of the podcast even out.
I know.
I don't want other people bidding us up on Heelys.
I want this company.
I would love to have Heelys. I mean, what's crazy is like, even at the 11 million that Sequential Brands bought it for, like right now, I feel like you could, even in the market we're in, we could raise the money to buy this thing from Sequential Brands 100%. Like, pretty easily. Is it something I want to do right now? No. Is it something I would love to do right now? Yes.
I would love to do
I would love to do it. I would love to do a lot of things.
Or could we make the Heelys better?
I would want the brand.
Yeah.
I'd want the brand.
Yeah, no. You need the brand. You need the name.
Okay, speaking of things with wheels,
Me?
Yeah, okay. Whatever you say. I've been starting to obsess with Zwift. So like this whole week, and I know you bought all the things for Zwift and never got Zwift set up. Yeah. Essentially, the state I'm in right now is I want like a cardio machine in my office, in my home, in which like is fun and actually has like some relatability for like what I like to do. And it's like, I kind of like triathlon, I kind of like biking, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get a Zwift set up for my basement. And like, so what Zwift is, if you don't know, it's an online platform that connects with like online bike trainers everywhere. And so like, you know, there's these companies like Garmin, Wahoo that create bike trainers that you put your normal road bike on, and it connects via Bluetooth to pretty much any device, whether it's a TV or your phone or your laptop. And it's a complete online world in which you cycle. And what's really cool about it is if you get these smart trainers, they change the resistance if you're going uphill versus downhill. And so you ride these courses, or you ride through Paris, or you ride through Rome with other people in this like digital world. And it's been like incredibly fun. Like I went last night on this like casual ride where you all have to keep the same pace. And then the last few laps is like open. And I remember like battling with this guy from Milwaukee, like so fucking hard. And I went harder than I went in the gym or doing anything in a long time because of Zwift. And I was like, wow, this is an amazing company. And so amazing product. Absolutely love it. And so I went, I'm like, okay, what's this company? Because like it's all well built. Like it is kind of like gamey and whatever, but they have hardware, they have software. And so I went to like kind of look at the company. So they're, according to like some public data, like $36 million in revenue, 300,000 customers, but they've raised $619 million total funding.
Holy.
Most of which was a $450 million Series C. I think in 2020. And so I think that's like probably when they had like a huge resurgence. If I'm guessing, I think that's a lot of like founder secondary is probably what that's made up of. And they had their initial seed in 2014. But again, it's like a $20 a month subscription. It seems niche, but also the niche is big. Like if you even look at like Iron Man as a company,
yeah,
like Iron Man is niche, but it's like a massive business. I think we looked at it. It's like a couple $100 million a year business. Yeah. And so yeah, like 500 employees, only 8 people in sales, 131 in engineering and 38 in marketing. What was really cool is I went to like, I'm like, who owns this fucking thing? And it's this guy named Eric Min, who used to be like the VP used to be the VP of JP Morgan. And like before, so he was like at JP Morgan, he was the vice president. Then he had like some fintech bullshit, and then he built Zwift, and he's been building Zwift for whatever it is, like 10 years now. And he's still like the acting CEO and stuff like that, which I thought was pretty cool. But my like main thesis around Zwift, or like what should happen with Zwift, is like I think Facebook should buy Zwift. I think it's been, through my experience, and like I try a lot of things, it's like the first product that is the metaverse that gives me extra value than exists in the real world. Right. Like honestly, training in Zwift is better than training outside. And like obviously I would like to be outside, but outside comes with a bunch of factors. One, we live in Toronto, so like that's the easy one.
6 months.
You only have 6 months to train cycling. The other piece is like, I remember when we were training for the Ironman, I would have these training programs on my bike computer. And what's really annoying about them is like you'd be getting really into like hitting these wattage thresholds that you're trying to hold, and then you'd get like a red light or a car would pull out in front of you. And so you have like the environment that's fucking up your training. And when you're training for a race, which is a closed course. So Zwift, it feels 100% like you're, even if you're going over cobblestones in the game, if you have a smart trainer, it like vibrates and it literally feels like you're driving over cobblestone. And so I just think it's like one of the best executions of like metaverse. And I think if that is still a long-term play for like Meta, I just think it's like an amazing company to potentially like learn from and like have like a large customer base of like raving, like there isn't really alternatives to Zwift. Like there are shit ones, but there's not really alternatives. And I think it gives you like a decent customer pool of like 300,000 people that have bought into, I get value from virtual environments that you could then use as a jumping off point to like building out the rest of the metaverse and what that could be in the future. But my experience using Zwift has made me more bullish on the metaverse as like a place in which like really meaningful companies will be built. Right. Because I've just always been like, go the fuck outside. Like I don't want to sit with the goggles on, but this was just like, oh, this is better. Like,
yeah. I mean, there always has been, like shittily done, but like on like a treadmill or a thing, like you can like go for a walk in Central Park or whatever. Like, I think it's like the benefit with Zwift is it maintains like the competitive nature. If it was the same thing, but no other people, it would be I would have had an okay experience yesterday. The fact that I was battling with Mike from Milwaukee made it, I was like, wow, that pushed me more than like even I think a trainer beside me would, because I'm just like, I'm not letting this motherfucker beat me. Right. Yeah. I think if you're competitive, like for me, that's why I got hooked on CrossFit, was like, I used to just go to the gym and just work out, and like but when you're doing it, even if it's like a friend and you just like you want to beat them, like it makes you work so much harder. So yeah, they've been able to kind of like keep that. Have you done Peloton?
Yeah, I've done Peloton. I don't mind Peloton, but for me, whenever I've done a Peloton class, it still just feels like a spin class, which I always just feels like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But Zwift just feels real. It's like you have mileage, you have wattage, you have all these things that also then translate into performance in whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's like cycle racing or triathlon or anything like that. It's like a 1-to-1 comparison, and it's also on your bike. And so like all the geometry is the same. And so like as like a training modality, I think it's just like amazing. And I really like it. And you just like, it's really awesome. Like you burn like so many, like yesterday I was like on for like an hour and a half and like I burned like 1,500 calories, like an incredible amount of like burn. So, huge fan of Zwift. I mean, like made me think like, what are like versions of Zwift that I would also like to have in my daily life that are just like incredible experiences. I've been hard pressed to find one.
Zwift for swimming.
Zwift for swimming would be
in your
sick.
bathtub.
Okay, not my bathtub. Have you seen those like swim spas?
Treadmill like pools.
Yeah, those are really cool. I followed this one guy on YouTube back when we were both doing the triathlon stuff, his name's Triathlon Taryn, and he has like the sickest setup in his garage with like a swim spa, Zwift, and it's just like, man, that's like it's just like literally like a torture cave. And I bet there's like probably some programs with that, but that would be really cool. I haven't tried them yet, but those swim goggles that like show you pace and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've seen those.
I think those are really cool. But yeah, huge fan of Zwift.
I wonder if you could do something for like skiing to make like skiing more like
interactive,
fun and competitive. Like a pair of goggles that like
has a course
shows
where you have to
everyone who's on the thing that also has the goggles.
Wow.
And it's like, oh, this guy's coming in at this speed. Like,
dude, imagine you made like a game where it's like it knew everybody else, right? Like same way like Tesla, so it avoids people. But then you also have like maybe you can like build a slalom course down the entire mountain with like jewels to pick up.
Yeah.
And like,
oh wow,
dude,
sick.
That would be so much fun.
I like that idea.
I think we just found our new business.
Scrap this whole episode.
Yeah,
we need these ideas.
Fuck. Yeah, we can say fuck it to Heelys. We're gonna go all in on the goggles for now. That would actually be incredibly fun.
Yeah.
Or like, I'm thinking like something like Pokemon Go, but goggles, VR, skiing. It has to be very good augmented where you're not going to run into people. But I think if anything, it could help you not run into people more than being without these goggles, right? Like it could literally like, have like a flashing like thing, and like turn this way and like literally.
But they have to have also the goggles.
Why?
To know where they are.
No, you don't.
I mean,
if you're in a Tesla, you can see people walking inside your car. You can see cars. You can see trash cans.
Yeah.
Like if anything, an open ski hill where there's just people to recognize would be easier than all of the roads of the world.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're going to build that. That's fun. Do you have anything else?
No.
Yeah, you do. You have unlimited bagels from your...
What is it?
You have unlimited bagels from my realtor in Vegas.
I put that there because those are 5 words that you say very different from the rest of the world. And I just wanted to hear you say it all in order. So say it slow.
Unlimited bagels from my realtor in Vegas. Do I say Vegas sometimes?
You say Vegas. You say unlimited.
Unlimited. Okay.
You say unlimited. You say bagels.
Okay.
You say realtor.
Okay.
And then you say Vegas.
How did you make this list?
Last time when we finished, you said it. I was like, oh, unlimited. And then you said bagels. And I was like, oh, bagels. And I'm like, I'm just going to. And then I heard you say realtor. And like, I've just been hearing these words and slowly like working it into this point here.
All right. Well, I just got called out. That's been this episode of Done This Week. We'll see you guys next week. Fuck you.